The kids get to make such incredible friendships, and myself included. Like, my best friends I made in the Hamilton Children's Choir, and they're still my friends today, I genuinely mean
choir
it.
friends, like, forever, right? Welcome to Gritty History, a podcast from the City of Hamilton and Hamilton Civic Museums, taking you beyond the physical museums and diving into the fascinating stories from the city's past and present. In this audio series, we'll explore the people and places that make Hamilton, Ontario so special. Our first series, Liner Notes, digs into the work of Hamilton music. My name is Meredith Leonard, and I'm a senior curator at Hamilton Civic Museums. Joining me for this series is Russ Piva, aka Stereo Russ, musician and host of Inside the Music with Stereo Russ. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's press play.
The Hamilton Children's Choir provides children and youth with rich musical education opportunities, creating a sense of belonging, nurturing growth, and ensuring a sense of community. Today, we're fortunate enough to sit down with Gillian Alexander, the executive director of the award-winning Hamilton Children's Choir, to discuss what makes it so special and unique. Gillian, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's fun to be here.
Just to get us started, could you tell us a little bit about your background as a musician and your involvement with the Children's Choir?
Absolutely. Those two are one and the same. So I grew up singing. I was like the classic kid that was putting on shows for their family and driving them probably crazy. And I started taking some private voice, and then eventually through a school teacher, I ended up at the Hamilton Children's Choir when I was 8 years old. And I stayed there until I was about 20 years old. I was there for about 12 years. It was a very long time at the time. Now it's fairly normal for kids to kick around that long. And while I was doing that, I was growing up and I was singing in, I love to say that I was snuck into bars a lot. I was sneaking in, I played in my uncle's classic rock band as I was growing up. So I was singing like Janis Joplin and Zeppelin and stuff when I was 14, like sneakily. And then I went to the University of Toronto once I graduated, and I did a double major there in music and anthropology. And after I was done that, I started doing my own work as Gillian Nicola, the musician, a singer-songwriter, and I put out a couple of EPs. I put out a full-length album just before the pandemic. And while I was doing that, I also went to Humber College for arts administration and cultural management. And then I found myself right back at the Hamilton Children's Choir.
Full circle.
Full circle. And so in addition to that, I'm their executive director, but I also teach music privately as well. And so I'm still playing, still doing stuff, just a bit more quietly than I used to be.
In doing some of the early research for this exhibition, we came across an amazing photo from the spec of the Children's Choir singing with Celine Dion at the Junos in 1996, and I understand you were part of that.
I was part of that. Yeah, yes, it was. I think it was 1999 when the Junos were last, or they weren't last in Hamilton, but in 1999 they were in Hamilton, and yeah, she called on the choir from her "Let's Talk About Love" album, which was the Titanic album, right? That had. Whatever that song is called. My Heart Will Go On. Thank you. And yeah, we got to perform with her at the Junos on the title track, Let's Talk About Love, because it had a children's choir. And oh my goodness, that is forever my claim to fame, first of all. And also just like the coolest experience. I think I was 10 at the time. So just absolutely amazing.
Were you aware at the time of kind of the gravity of that situation?
I think so. I was terrified, to be honest. Like, I definitely knew, like, especially because of Titanic, like I was like a Leo girl, I loved that movie. And so, yes, I definitely knew how big Celine Dion was. And it was just such a huge event. Like, that was the first like massive thing that I had been at. I remember at the time seeing like the Moffats were very big at the time.
Yeah, Moffats. I haven't heard that in a while.
Deep cut.
They were sitting there and I could see them. And also, I don't know if you remember this band, Love Inc. was in the audience, and I was just so starstruck by seeing them as well. So I definitely, I knew how big it was for sure.
I'm genuinely curious. Like, what does it mean to be the executive director of a children's choir? Like, what do you do on a day-to-day? What's kind of the scope?
It's a lot of spreadsheets. I'm not going to lie. It's a lot. It's a lot of looking at numbers and figuring out where we're going to find money. That's where a lot, that's like nonprofit life, I think, in general, but definitely in the music music stream as well. Arts funding is always at risk. So that is what I mostly do. I also, we've got quite a large team at the Hamilton Children's Choir now. We've got 4 administrative staff. And I say that's a large team because when I joined the choir, there was 0 administrative staff. And we've got about almost 20 people on our artistic team. So it's a lot of people to keep track of all the time. So a lot of it is like basic management stuff as well. I'm helping planning the tours. I am booking the performances for the year. It's it's kind of like a little bit of everything. I'm a pretty hands-on person. Also, because we are only a team of 4, I kind of touch a lot of things. So I've got my hand in marketing. I'm helping source uniform pieces. It's a lot of different things.
And some of those historic uniforms we're actually featuring in the exhibition, which is really cool to see them through the years.
Yes, I'm so glad you guys have them.
I understand that the Children's Choir has won a number of awards. Could you share some of the accomplishments that the choir has had over the years?
Absolutely. So, first of all, I think it's an accomplishment that we just had our 50th anniversary last year. We've been around for a really long time now in the city. But I would say, especially over the last 25 years, the choir has really made a name for themselves on the international stage. So probably most people don't know about the choral international stage. It is a very niche place to be hanging out. But there's competitions you can go to and festivals you can go to all over the world. And so the most recent competition that we did was in 2024. It was actually my first week on the job as executive director. I took the choir to Wales to the Llangollen International Choral Competition. And they did 4 competitions and they placed 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place in those competitions. So the one that they won first in was the Children's Folk Song Competition, which it's just incredible because you truly get at all of these festivals the best of the best in the world. And it's just so exciting to see them win and be so excited. When I was in the choir in 2006, we did the Tolosa Choral Competition, which is in Spain, and we came in 2nd place for children's choirs there, but we won the Audience Choice Awards for like all of the choirs, including the adult choirs, which was so exciting at the time. And I mentioned those 2 because I experienced both too, but seeing the one when we were in Wales, it just felt so similar to when I was a kid winning that one in Spain. So it was it's really cool. They get so many incredible opportunities and those kids work so hard. They are special kids that stay in the choir.
And I'm sure it's an incredible amount of dedication and work on their part. Can you tell us a little bit about the process? Like if you're a parent or if you're a child who's like, I would like to get into this, is there an audition process? How do you get involved?
Absolutely. So we have programs for all ages. If you can believe it, we actually start as little as 18 months. We have like a parent and toddler class. But if you're between, say, 4 and 6, you do not have to have any kind of placement at all. You just kind of sign up to come sing. After that, we don't do what's called an audition. We call it a vocal assessment. Everyone can come join the choir. We just want to know that we put you in the best spot. So there is a spot for everyone at HCC. So you come in and you can sing Happy Birthday. You can sing Oh Canada. We don't really care as long as we can hear you sing so that we put you in the right spot. But it's fairly easy to join. And a really important part of our program is that we also have a very robust financial award or like a bursary program. So that makes it possible that anyone that wants to sing with us can come sing no matter what circumstances they're coming from.
I come from this like brain of, music is non-competitive. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious how one gets assessed in a choral competition.
Absolutely. And I hear you completely of music not being competitive. And I think we really try to balance both competitive and non-competitive opportunities for the kids because, we don't want to be always thinking that way. Typically, when you have these competitions, though, they get adjudicators from all over the world that are usually choral conductors or music educators in some sense that will have a rubric that basically judge you on everything from your how strong your consonants are, how good your intonation is, what the tone of your singing is like, how well, we sing a lot in other languages, how well that's being done, stage presence, choreography. We do a lot of choreography as well. So it's kind of like an all-encompassing rubric that they look at. And it is hard because, sometimes you're judging like apples to oranges, right? Like the people the choirs that aren't singing the same material by any means, right? And how do you judge that? We had that a lot in Wales, actually. We did, they have a program there, the open choirs. So you can be doing any type of music. You can be an adult choir. You can be in a children's choir. And it's like, how do you judge that? We were up against like a very, like almost like a musical theater act. And then we were also up against, it was them, there was like a barbershop choir, and then us in the final three for one of the competitions. It's like, these are three completely different things.
It kind of sounds like Eurovision a little bit.
Kind of, yeah.
What makes a great children's choir conductor?
Oh my God, there's so much. I mean, the people that do it are put on this earth to do it, in my humble opinion. Every age has its own challenges. Of course, there's like typical teacher stuff of like classroom management, behavior management, those kinds of things. But for a choir, I mean, it's just dealing with so many voices, right? And the ultimate goal is to make them sound kind of like one voice. And so to fine tune all of those sweet young voices to sound the same is so difficult. And especially like when you get to the older or maybe like middle school age children where like voices are starting to change and stuff like that. That's its own whole other challenge that I'm like, that is not for me. I don't know how to manage that challenge. But yeah, it's the intricacies of getting every voice to be one and the same.
It takes a village to put a children's choir together. So
yes.
Who are the people, either whether they're paid roles or unpaid roles, who's involved in making this happen?
So myself and Melanie Tejas run the show. So she is the artistic director. I'm executive director. She is also the conductor of MAC choirs here as well. And then we have quite a robust, as I say, artistic staff full of conductors. We've got pianists, and we also have rehearsal assistants, which are kind of young folks in the community that are maybe working on a music degree that just come help out with the rehearsals. And then we have parent volunteers in the classroom as well for some of that classroom management stuff. And we have loads of other volunteers that make our concerts happen, right? That are selling tickets and being ushers and all that kind of fun stuff. And then on the administrative side, we've got myself, and then I have a team of 3 others. So we've got a marketing and events specialist, we have a finance administrator, and we have a program manager. But we also, as I say, really rely on volunteers. So for example, we always staff a concession booth at the Ticats games, home games. They have a lovely charity program there. And that is completely volunteer run from our end. And it's just been such a blessing to have such dedicated volunteers. We also, of course, have a board of directors. There's honestly so many of us. The board has 11 people on it. And those are different community members with areas of expertise that can help us. So think, people that work in children's education, or we have a couple child psychologists on our board. We've got a couple of lawyers. We got some marketing specialists. It's kind of, it really is a community effort.
So the choir was a career path for you, but for many people who join, music is maybe not going to be their calling for their career. But you touched on it a little bit earlier, but sort of what kind of values and experiences does the opportunity to be part of a choir bring for children who maybe aren't going to be professional musicians?
Absolutely. And lots of our kids are not professional musicians as careers. I would say the vast majority do not choose that as a career. I think it's still, music education in general, but specifically something like our choir, it just instills such a great work ethic in kids that they learn how to create something as a team. They learn how to work together. They learn how to meet deadlines and be under like quite high pressure situations, especially when we're talking about things like competitions. And I think it really sets people up for success in the real world. And we keep joking about, well, not joking, we keep talking about doing a study on our alumni, because our alumni are very successful in their careers no matter where they end up. We have lawyers and doctors and professors and just like everything you can think of, as well as, of course, professional musicians as well. But you don't have to want to make it your career in order to thrive in the Hamilton Children's Choir or benefit from singing in the Hamilton Children's Choir.
If you're enjoying this conversation, you might want to check out the Punching In exhibition, which explores the work of Hamilton's music scene, on display at the Visitor Experience Center, located at 28 James Street North, throughout 2026. Now, back to our conversation.
Do you ever ruminate on the idea of success like what success means?
Yes, absolutely. We talk about it all the time. And I think, talking about balancing competition versus not competition, I think for us, success is almost of course there's like a musical bar, like, right? Did we sing the notes right? Did we remember all the words? Did we do the hand clapping in the right spot? But I think for us, Hamilton Children's Choir has such a, I don't know, like magical quality to it that I think as long as everyone is feeling happy and connected to one another, to me, that is success. I think as long as, we're all still smiling at the end of the day. And, the kids get to make such incredible friendships, and myself included. Like my best friends I made in the Hamilton Children's Choir, and they're still my friends today, I think all of that is success.
That's so sweet. I love that.
I mean it. I genuinely mean it.
Choir friends, like forever, right?
Yeah, like my best friend I met when I was 10 in the Hamilton Children's Choir, and I was like the maid of honor at her wedding, like we're forever.
You've talked a little bit about some of the international performances. What about like local stages? Is there your favorite spot you have to perform with a choir here, or something where the kids really enjoy it?
So local, but not that local. We performed at the National Arts Center this past summer, and that was an incredible experience. We performed there on Canada Day. It is a free concert. It was, even though free, sold out, filled to the brims, and what just a treat to perform in a concert hall like that. Locally, we perform a lot in churches. We are, I would say, desperately in need for more approximately 1,000-seater venues in the city of Hamilton that are also good for singing. That is also an important piece, because things that are great for instruments are not always great for singing, which is why we end up in churches a lot.
What do you mean by that?
It's just the acoustic part of it. You want the voices to be able to really send through the space without being amplified, like just naturally acoustic, which is often the case in churches. It's really hard to amplify a choir, to mic a choir. You have to have very expensive, high caliber mics so that you don't have individual voices sticking out. But we perform at Hamilton Place most years. We perform at Faith United Church in the West or East End quite a bit, and also at Central Presbyterian. Those are kind of our normal stomping grounds. But as long as we can fit, we will usually do it.
I have a question about your own personal career.
Yeah.
So if you're putting yourself in the shoes of someone who may be graduating today, what advice would you give them to try to find themselves within a career in music?
I mean, I think, first of all, do something that you like, because you spend the vast majority of your life doing it, and that's so important. Specifically for the arts, like, I think there's, or at least for me, my own personal struggle was being a musician, but also becoming an arts administrator, like doing the paperwork end of things. I think some people feel kind of uncomfy around that choice. For me, it was a really good choice, because I'm still doing something that I really, really care about and that I want to invest my heart and soul in. And it's related to the arts, and it's keeping a roof over my head, right? Like, it's all of those things at the same time. So that would be kind of, to be honest, the route I would recommend. And also, when you're a musician, we were just saying this before the show, you can be so enterprising. There's so many different things that you can do. Like, I always would joke, if I ever found myself unemployed, at least I can go busk. Like, right? There's always a backup plan. And so, you can start a radio show, or you can just go play in a bar, or you can become a pianist for a choir. Like, there are so many different things that you can be doing when you're a musician in order to, pay the rent.
And meet people, right? And
meet people, yeah. And especially in Hamilton, it's such an amazing and tight-knit community. Like, you see the same faces over and over and over again. And it's easy to make connections here.
So I'm curious, like, is there someone who, like, maybe a mentor or people in your life career-wise that, like, really helped kind of guide you in the right direction?
Yeah. I don't know that I had a proper formal mentor as a musician. I had a few teachers over the years. Tom Oliver in the West End was one of my teachers for a while. And of course, Zamfira Polos, who was our former artistic director at the choir, we would call her a mentor too. But I think in my own music, I would say my fellow musicians were actually kind of my network. When you enter music, we talked about competition. It feels so competitive at times. And I think there was a part in my musicianship where I decided that I just wasn't going to feel that way anymore. And that the more I could share and talk to other musicians, the more benefit it was to me. Like not hiding things like, how much are you getting paid for a gig? Right? Like that's because people don't even know where to start. What is my price tag? Right? Like there's so many things to consider and information to share with your fellow musicians that was kind of the big thing. And so, I was saying before the show, I used to run this songwriter series in Toronto quite often. I ran it once a month for about 4 or 5 years. And that was such a great spot for that too. Just anywhere that you can find community and share that kind of information, I think is a great way to get yourself through it.
Yeah, I have this feeling as we're doing all these interviews, it's like, yeah, you have mentors, but a lot of them are your peers, and like you kind of grow with your peers. So someone who you were in a band with or performed with now is managing this place, or maybe they're doing PR, maybe they have a radio show, whatever it may be. And they're not only are they in a position where they have, they can help you out, but also like that's someone that you've been friends with.
Yes, 100%. And like when they say to not burn your bridges, like that is such a good point because you never know who you're going to run into again, especially in an industry like this. I think honestly, like Jamie Tennant is a great example. He's got me on the show so many times.
For those that don't know, who's Jamie Tennant?
Oh, he's the director of CFMU.
Listen to that episode too.
Also an episode.
Oh,
great episode.
Beautiful. I love that you've had him on.
You telling these stories about children, finding themselves and whether they become professional musicians or not. It brings me back to when I was first playing music and playing guitar. I'm starting a piano. And at the time, you're just, a kid just doing it. But, in looking back, like it brought so much confidence, like self-worth. And I'm wondering, without naming any names, if you can share a story of how the choir actually helped, like maybe a child find themselves or develop that confidence that they may not have had before.
When we were on tour last summer, we just did a little run to Ottawa and Montreal. And as you can anticipate, we get homesickness, right? With kids, like some of these kids are like 11, 12 going on these tours. Maybe it's the first time they've been away from their families overnight. And so there were a few kids that had pretty intense homesickness on this past tour. And one of them decided to sit a concert out. And she and I sat at the very back of the concert and we just watched them perform. And it was so interesting to watch a chorister, like an active chorister, watch an entire concert of their choirs, of their peers. They were so moved by the whole experience, just like overjoyed. I had never seen them smile the way they were smiling during that concert. And for the rest of the tour, that kid was just so lively and animated. And I think it cured her homesickness. And I think that was just, one of my favorite ones I've seen. But there are just, I don't know, I can even say for myself, like I always joke that you find the same weirdos as you in the choir, right? Like as soon as you get into one of those niche activities, you find the people that you're meant to be with. At school, you're forced to be with other people. You don't have say with who you're hanging out really. But a choir or sports, anything, you get to pick. Like those are the same weirdos as you. And so your brains are similar and you get along and that can build so much confidence just in finding
It's so true. And especially kids at sort of at that like critical age, it's nice to feel seen and to see like you've got comrades.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We've been asking everybody who their favorite Hamilton musicians are. And we want to ask you the same question. And we also want to ask you who your favorite Hamilton music educators are.
One Hamilton musician that I really admire and is a friend of mine, and I haven't seen her in ages, but is Sarah Beatty. I love Sarah Beatty. And she is also a person who is a musician, but also working, doing other things. She's an environmental scientist, as far as I know. And I think one of my favorite songs from her is the song Holy Smokes, which just really outlines like the plight of the millennial. And I think that's why I like it so much, because I relate. In terms of educators, I mean, anyone at the Hamilton Children's Choir. Melanie Tellez is our artistic director. She's absolutely outstanding. But I would also love to highlight my buddy Piper Hayes, who is a singer-songwriter in Hamilton, but she is also a music educator. She is a yoga instructor, and she takes a very holistic approach to all of her education. She is very much focused on the mind and voice connection, which I find very fascinating, because I really do believe that so much of being any type of musician is just guts and confidence and believing that you can do it. And I know, from my own experience as a musician, that so much of how you experience your performance is based on how you feel. And your ability to perform in a way can be impacted by how you are feeling on that day. Whether that is you have a sore throat or whether you're kind of bummed out. Both of those things can impact your performance. And so I love that she takes that approach.
Great. That was perfect answer.
Also answered my question that I was going to ask but didn't ask. For those who feel that they can't sing, what do you prescribe to them?
Oh, singing. You know what our old artistic director Zamfira Polos used to always say, if you can speak, you can sing. I believe it. I think it can be trained. I think you have to want it, but I think it can be trained.
Gillian, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Gillian. I love talking about the choir.
Thank you for listening to the Gritty History Podcast, brought to you by the City of Hamilton and Hamilton Civic Museums. This episode was hosted by Meredith Leonard and Russ Piva. Produced and edited by Stereo Russ Media. Original music by Emma Whale. This series' episodes were recorded at CFMU Studios at McMaster University, Catherine North Studios, and Bridgeworks. If you enjoyed listening, please share this podcast with someone who loves all things Hamilton and history. Please rate, review, and subscribe. If you'd like to explore more, you can visit us online at hamiltoncivicmuseums.ca. Thank you for listening.